All right, hello everybody. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 7:05. Senators, please find your seats. They are the same as last week in alphabetical order. You'll notice that our agenda has been revised to reflect the order that we actually conduct the meeting in. So hopefully everybody is okay with that. If so, I'd like to move on to representatives to the ASUC reports and invite up our UCPD representative. Please speak closer to the mic. If it's not on, you can turn it on.
What about now?
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Sorry about that. Like I said, bike thefts are actually up again. So what I'd like to do is remind you guys of some things that we take for granted on a regular basis. Some of the things that you guys should tell your constituents, like it's taken for granted, but even though you put it on the bike rack, you probably should lock it. And I say this, I'm not trying to be funny. We've actually had a lot of reports of bikes being stolen where, hey, yeah, I parked on the bike rack, but I didn't actually have a lock. You can remind your constituents. One of the things is cable locks, padlocks are not that great. They're easy to defeat. The U-locks we're finding are the best ones. But if you use a U-lock, you want to make sure you include the front tire as well as the frame, not just the frame. Because oftentimes if you go around any bike rack on campus or within the city, you'll see a U-lock and a front tire only. That's because the rest of the bike is stolen. So remind your constituents, you want to include the front tire with the frame of the bike when you're locking it up. Another thing, make sure that if you lock it up on a pole, for example, a bad example, a parking meter, probably not a good thing because you can lift the bike and the lock up over the parking meter. Again, I'm not trying to be funny. These are actually things that have happened just this week. So tell your constituents, try to use, by all means, a bike rack, but if you don't use a bike rack, if you do use something other, make sure that the height is so high that somebody couldn't lift your bike and the lock over the mechanism. Make sure that you license your bike, because we recover every week multiple bikes and we have no way of tracking down the owners. Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. you can go to UCPD front counter and we will register your bike. There is somebody that is stationed there. So make sure you tell your constituents to show up for that. And outside of that, the only other thing we had was 2 phone thefts, which is awesome for this time of year. You guys are doing a really good job of telling them about the phones. Now let's work on the bikes, because 15 in 1 week, that's a lot. That's a lot for us. And that's probably more than likely just due to being new to the area and not familiar with how things work around here. You guys have any questions for me? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Senator Chung.
So I know you mentioned before that normally a lot of the bike thefts happen with the freshmen that are new on campus, and I couldn't stay for the entire RHA meeting last week just because I had we had interviews for the standing committee for Conrad, and I was wondering if the representative for UCPD had spoken at the Res Hall meeting, the first Res Hall meeting, which was on Monday.
This Monday or when?
It was, this Monday.
I don't know when they do it, but I know that we have both the CP unit, which is the crime prevention unit. They speak at pretty much every res hall, and then each individual res hall has an assigned person that does safety presentation. So on that particular day, I couldn't tell you for sure, but I do know that they do go throughout every res hall and do speak.
Do you know if there is a UCPD representative for the Residence Hall Assembly to come in and speak, like an allocated time for UCPD to come in and speak?
I don't know if they have one.
Okay, well, I can look into it.
But if you look and you don't have one, contact me and I can arrange for you guys to actually have one.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Senator Wu.
Thank you for coming again this week. I was wondering, you said the number of bike theft went up, so I was wondering if what are the locations for these?
We don't have I can give you lots of locations actually spread out. Like usually when we have something, like I said, one of our previous meetings, when we have something that's targeted, let's say if all of our bike thefts are maybe a large portion was Unit 1, we typically conduct an undercover operation when we have one. But this last week, the 15 bike theft was sporadic. There were only 2 in the same area. There were actually 2 at Unit 2, but the rest of them were throughout campus and the city, or the surrounding areas of the city.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Other questions? Great, thank you.
Okay. Last thing, I brought some keychains for you guys. For anybody that wants them, I will leave them with the VP. Just help yourself.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
So unless we have a Chancellor's representative or Graduate Assembly representative, let's move on to the ASUC Auxiliary Report. Thank you.
All right, evening, everybody. So, week 4. So, as we go into week 4, I don't know, it's me. Midterm season, just make sure to take care of yourselves, take care of each other. So, my report's relatively short. Hiring updates, Event Services has hired 9 students, and the Art Studio has hired 3 new student assistants. And the CSSB has approved the creation of the Lead Center Assistant Director of the Student Environmental Resource Center, or CERC. The position will assist students in creating environmentally conscious programs and initiatives. So, if you haven't started already, there's going to be some major noise disruption from October 14th to November 1st around the Lower Sproul Development Project. Some really loud jackhammering from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday to Saturday. Bookstore vendors are presenting pitches this week and early next week as a result of our request for information. Decisions will be made after next week on the next stage, which is to distribute a request for proposals, or RFP. So, Art Studio. The fall classes are well underway. Income from the summer and early fall has declined by 13%. Most likely due to the impact of construction on students not frequenting the area. So hopefully the addition of new digital arts classes held in Wheeler will help offset this loss. Registration for late fall begins next week. Classes starting on October 28th. The studio will also be offering a construction discount to ceramic students affected by noise due to the northeast stair demolition. Other events coming up. Again, the auxiliary will be participating in our volunteer day this Friday, Friday morning. We will be at People's Park. So we won't be at the Lead Center. We will all be replanting gardens and mulching and painting over at People's Park on Friday. The Art Studio is going to have a holiday benefit auction on December 13th in Anna Head, here, in conjunction with its holiday sale on December 14th and 15th, also here. So all proceeds will be benefiting charity. Our Leadership Symposium, again, I will continue to mention this until it happens. It's going to be October 20th. I have flyers, which I will pass around now. Please pass on to your constituents. So we're still looking for students. As of right now, we have 119 students registered. But we're still looking for more, and we are also looking for more student presenters. So if you know of students who might want to present at Leadership Symposium, please, please, please tell them to go to the website and register to present at the Leadership Symposium. Yes, and also in addition to presenters, just to mention, there is free food, there's free lunch provided at Leadership Symposium. And then my last update is that CACSIF proposals are due October 14th for one-time funding, and then January 31st for one-time and ongoing funding. So you should work with DJ or Nolan for your proposals if you're considering proposals to CACSIF. Any questions? Yes.
Senator Tan?
Hi, Rob. Thank you for coming. Is there anything being done around the MLK section in terms of the event services staff that are seated most of the day there because of the noise? Because I feel like it's uncomfortable for a lot of the event services students to be at that part of the construction site just because of how like the noise is.
My understanding is that the hub or that box, the students have moved away from that to like lower stairs, but I will check in with that.
Senator Wu?
So you mentioned there will be major noise due to the construction, 7 to 7. Like, what date is it specifically?
October 14th
Okay.
to November 1st.
Other questions? Senator Iwoma?
Yeah, if a student, like, if I want to talk to my constituents about presenting at the leadership symposium, like, what types of things are y'all looking for?
We're basically looking for anything that they might want to present on. Specifically, we're looking for things around the theme, which is like, it's pretty broad. It's like lead here, lead now, but again, around social change, things that students would benefit from.
Okay, so. And also, I want to shout out to the Lead Center for tabling on Sprout today. I see y'all.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Awesome. Great, thanks,
Thank
Rob.
you.
Okay, so very briefly, neither of our CSSB representatives were able to make it to the meeting today, but Christine did email me an update based on this last week's CSSB meeting. Her update reads as follows. The Governance Committee's next meeting is on Thursday, September 26th, 2013, from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. in Anthony Hall. And there was a motion passed to approve the creation of Lead Center Assistant Director of the Student Environmental Resource Center, which was funded by CACSIF. The motion passed by the board to allow the CERC position description to be reviewed and finalized by the Organization and Governance Committee without being brought back to the full board. From the Finance Committee, they will meet monthly to review budget models, but will only report out ASUC auxiliary financial standings. And then the October meeting will bring new budget models to the board for review and talk about returns to the ASUC. That model will be decided after the review of these various budget models. And if you're interested in joining any CSSB committee, she provided her email contact information. It's Christine, minjiyun@gmail.com. I can forward this out to the Senate also. And briefly, I guess let's move on to our finance officer's report, which is our next item, and then we'll do roll call.
Hello. Okay, so this week I authored week 4 budget bill, which is in front of you. Yep. And I also did some more research on CalRog, but like there's a lot going on right now. I'm still waiting to meet with DJ and Nolan. I don't know if they're available, but yeah. Yeah. Also, I contacted Dance Marathon on like how we can look for different sources of funding, but I'm still waiting for the response. Also, I work with Daniel, the Assistant Director of Budgeting and Finance in the EVP office, on his project, which is to investigate on the ASUC spending for the past years. And I think that's it. And we spend around 11% of our contingency funding by now, so just an update for that. And yeah.
Any questions for our finance officer? Cool. Awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you. So we're at 7:19. Roll call. I'm just waiting for the 7:20 mark to hit so I can do roll call before we move on to anything else. Hopefully you all are having a wonderful week. And whenever you're ready, clock. All right, so let's move into roll call. Senator Chow.
Present.
Senator Chung.
Here.
Senator Feynman.
Present.
Senator Iwoma.
Present.
Senator Kong.
Present.
Senator Lee.
Here.
Senator Mohabit.
Present.
Senator Mullen.
Present.
Senator Woche.
Present.
Senator Pacheco.
Present.
Senator Pandya.
Present.
Senator Quinn.
Present.
Senator Rafi.
Present.
Senator Shen.
Present.
Senator Snoan.
Here.
Senator Tan.
Present.
Senator Truax.
Present.
Senator Yupati-Yula.
Here.
Senator Week.
Here.
And Senator Wu.
Present.
Okay. Let's move on then briefly to guest announcements. If we have any guests to the ASUC who'd like to make an announcement, now would be the time. If there aren't any guests, I'm going to move into public comment. We have several public comment cards. So in order, we'll have public comments of up to 2 minutes from first David Douglas, then Yvette Pilarka, and then Justin Chung. Okay.
Hi everyone, my name is David Douglas and I'm a national organizer with the Coalition to Defend Affirmative Action, Integration, Immigrant Rights, and Fight for Equality by Any Means Necessary, BAM. We're speaking tonight on our national mobilization to the Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court, on October 15th. We filed a lawsuit against Proposal 2 in Michigan, which is the same proposition, a carbon copy of Proposition 209 here in California, that has robbed a whole generation of California students to their right and their political rights to be on this campus and to be at UCLA and to be at University of Michigan. But as leaders of California, we have the historic opportunity to march along with tens of thousands of students across the nation on the U.S. Supreme Court and make sure our voices are heard. So we've been working with Senator Iwoma and Senator Pacheco to bring a Senate bill to this floor to mobilize nationally and make sure that this entire student government is in Washington, D.C. on October 15th. Michigan's fight is our fight, and we know that, all 10 chancellors and Office of the UC President has filed an amicus brief on behalf of our lawsuit because they see the writing on the wall. You can no longer deny political rights of the majority of Californians to the right to come to school here and be at this campus. So we, like I said, we want everyone in this room to be in Washington, D.C. with us. We're trying to get as much money as possible. We've been meeting with Chancellor Dirks. He has filed an amicus brief in support of our Supreme Court lawsuit. And, we need to mobilize. I was in Washington, D.C. along with 600 other BAM leaders on August 28th, which was the 50th anniversary that Dr. King marched in Washington, D.C. for black citizenship and black equality. And that was 250,000 people. We need 250,000 people marching on the Supreme Court to restore affirmative action. And also, in our Supreme Court brief, we're making a threat to the U.S. Supreme Court and to the conservative judges that the conservative thing to do is restore affirmative action and reintegrate, California and Michigan's public institutions and public universities. So we need 250,000 college students, youth leaders in Washington, D.C. marching with us. And in our brief to the Supreme Court, we acknowledge that the key to this victory is the immigrant rights movement and the struggle of 11 million undocumented immigrants in this country right now, and their right to American citizenship, and their right to the end of second-class treatment in this nation, and the right of 2 million undocumented immigrants and their right to return to this country and open up the borders and give the same rights that they give to corporations and products through the North American Free Trade Agreement. They need to give those same rights to immigrants and their right to immigration. So we're just, like I said, we're looking for support for this bill and also mobilization, because you are the elected leaders of the largest public university system in the world. You should be the leaders of tomorrow and be leading the struggle for the immigrant rights movement. If we really want to stand up to the no confidence vote in Janet Napolitano, we should add the list of the demands to the bill as being full citizenship rights for all 11 million undocumented immigrants. Because Janet Napolitano, as head of Homeland Security, she was following the directives and orders of President Obama and his administration. So, you know, President Obama did not file, and his administration did not file an amicus brief in support of our affirmative action because he refuses to speak the plain truth about racism in this country. And he explicitly says that if a white majority, actually a white minority who's actually the majority of registered voters, decides to vote in new Jim Crow laws that deny the political rights of minorities, the right to public education, he's okay with that. And you know, our lawsuit is based off of the 14th Amendment in the U.S. Constitution that was won after 600,000 people, 600,000 Americans, 600,000 Irish immigrants, former black soldiers who were slaves, fought to abolish slavery in this country. And the 14th Amendment that was amended to the Constitution says, and I have it right here, it says, "No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of these laws." So this is a historic opportunity to be the leaders that we're meant to be the leaders that students around the world look to this campus for leadership, and let the record show that when we formed in 1996 as a coalition to defend affirmative action, we were serious about that, and now our fruits are coming to bear. So please join us, and we appreciate your support. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if there are no other public comments, we will move now to the approval of the minutes from September 18th. I understand that there are amendments.
So like on the minutes, on page 43, the third paragraph, I think I said that instead of Senator Lee. So I'd like to amend.
Yeah, you would just propose that amendment.
I propose to make an amendment to like change Ms. Lee to Mr. Lee and all the.
Okay, so is there can somebody make that motion formally? Preferably not Senator Lee, because that would just get confusing.
Move to make an amendment.
Yes, okay. So there's a move to amend the minutes as Finance Officer Lee has stated. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Are there any objections? Any abstentions? Seeing none, motion carries. So are there any other proposed amendments to the minutes from September 18th?
Yeah, just wanted to, okay. Just wanted to, maybe might have been my mistake last week. There was a correction on the minutes from the minutes before. So on page 39, it reads that it says, I said that if the USDA map isn't chosen, he feared the ACC would fall back to the BSD map. I just wanted to, so you can just strike out the word feared, and just make it read, if the USDA map isn't chosen, the ACC would fall back to the BSDC map. So just clear.
Okay, so technically not amendment to this week's minutes, but if we're taking that as a motion, is there a second to make that amendment?
No, it is in this week's minutes because he made that correction and put it on this week's minutes.
Oh lordy, minutes are so confusing. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you for that clarification. Are there any other amendments to the minutes from September 18th? Okay, if there are none, then the chair would like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes from September 18th, 2013 as amended. It's been moved. It has been moved and seconded. Are there any objections to the approval of the minutes? Any abstentions? Great, seeing none, motion carries. We'll now move into new business, the assignment of bills to committees. So we'll run down this list. SB 13 will go to external, SB 14 to external, SB 15 will go to constitutional and procedural review, SB 16 to external, 17 to external, 18 to external, and 19 to finance. So, are there any objections to the way that the bills have been assigned this week? Pretty straightforward. Great. So, let's move then to the approval of the agenda for October 2nd, 2013. Before we approve this agenda very quickly, I'd like to note that our president has requested a special order for the October 2nd meeting on SIS. Do you want to talk briefly about that, DJ?
Actually, it's
Okay, so we'll approve that next week, I guess. Okay. Any other special orders?
sorry. But meeting one for the chancellor. No?
We'll make a space on the agenda for that. Hold please.
Okay.
Senators Quinn and then Shen.
I move to make a special order about the blood donation ban on men who have sex with men. Some folks from the Red Cross would like to come in and speak, and they said they could get their CEO for next Wednesday, and it would correlate with when Justin and Emily's and my bill is coming up, so.
Okay, so there's been a move to have that special order. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any objections to that special order on October 2nd? Abstentions? Great. So we will have a special order from the Red Cross on October 2nd. Are there any other requests for special orders? Senator Shen?
I would like to move to have a special order for Berkeley Connect. Berkeley Connect is a new academic program that's going to be offered to Berkeley students next semester. And basically, it's a mentorship program, and they're trying to really expand. Right now, it started as for English majors, now it's expanding to 10 majors, and they're currently going through a fundraising program to make it an endowment program for all of Berkeley, so it's institutionalized. So the director and the associate director wanted to come speak about it and show, the Senate, how we could help.
Okay, so is there a second to Senator Shen's motion?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Are there any objections? Any abstentions? Seeing none, motion carries.
That's for next week?
Yes. So we now have two special orders for next week. Yes, Senator Chung?
I would like to move for a special order for October 9th. Can I do that now, or should I do it at the next Senate meeting?
Which?
October 9th?
Technically, we're on approval of the agenda for October 2nd, so let's get through this really quickly, and then we can talk about October 9th ones. I do, though, want to return to President Pepito's point about space for the Chancellor. The Chancellor will be joining us at the October 2nd meeting, is that correct? So since we're approving the agenda, though, is there a particular change to any of the start times and order of things that you'd like to suggest?
I would leave that up to you. I would suggest that we officially convene Senate, I think, later. He is scheduled to be here from 6:45 to 8, but I'm probably going to tell him to only speak for 10 or 15 minutes, and then to leave the rest for questions, so maybe we'll start 7:20, 7:30 instead of 7.
Okay, so that's one suggestion, and if I'm not mistaken, the plan then is to have more of an informal mixer prior to that? Okay.
So maybe have him start speaking at 7:20 or 7:30, and you all can mingle once he gets here for like 30 or 40 minutes.
Yeah, Senator Pacheco?
So we would be mingling with the chancellor from 6:45 to 7:20 when the official Senate meeting would commence, and then he would speak for 10 minutes.
Okay.
Or less.
So that's the proposal then, so we would,
It can actually look like whatever you all want it to look like.
I mean, technically, based on the new agenda that we've put out, we wouldn't have to really change anything except the start time. So we would change the start time to, say, 7:20, and then we would have representatives to ASUC, and we would jump straight to the Chancellor's representative or the Chancellor as a representative to the ASUC report. So if everyone is okay with having the start time at 7:20, it will be duly noted. We will have the formal Senate meeting start at 7:20 with the more informal mixer happening up to that point in this space. And we will proceed as discussed. With those changes, is there a motion to approve the agenda for October 2nd?
I move to approve the agenda for October 2nd.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any objections to the motion? Any abstentions? Great. Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you all for that.
Point of information. Will the kind of mingling with the chancellor, is that only, like, will constituents have a chance to, like, or is this only for us, or, like, how open is this?
I'll defer to President Pepito on that.
So it's mainly for you all, in my efforts to have him interact with the senators more and be present in this space more, so he committed to coming to at least one Senate meeting a semester to just specifically give space for you all. I don't want it to turn into an aggressive forum because he's not going to be here for long and it also will take away time from you all. So you're welcome to tell your constituents to come and hear him speak and everything, but it's not supposed to be like the student forum that we had from him from last semester. If that makes sense.
And he will be speaking when? Exactly.
He'll start formally speaking the way as we approve the agenda at 7:20. Just as a note on the way that this worked last time, he did come and speak formally at the Senate, but directly before that, there was a mixer that was really just the GA and the ASUC that led up to the actual Senate meeting. Senator Mullin, do you have a question?
Sorry, clarification. So you said but there's questions afterwards with hearing for questions from us.
For you all, yes.
Okay.
In the formal Senate meeting.
Yeah, I don't know if you all were there at this. I mean, the Senate meeting will still be open. It's not like we're going to make it a closed, like we can't make it a closed Senate meeting, so anyone can come. But the mixer beforehand is supposed to just be for you all. And then the way it happened last year was he spoke for a little bit and answered questions from the senators. It wasn't like a public forum comment.
Cool. Any other questions on this before we move on? All right. So that actually is a great segue into our next item, which is Executive Officer Reports. I'd like to invite up President Pepito to deliver her report.
Hello? Okay, sorry. It's going to be really loud. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Okay. So there are a couple things that I need to add to talk about that aren't in my report that started later. But essentially, we've had vendor presentations all week for the next bookstore with CSSB. I had my standing with Kelsey last week on Friday, and we just debriefed about working group and about CACSIF issues. Events that my office is going to be putting on. The month of October is going to be very, very busy for Office of the President. We'll be partnering with the Filipino American Alliance for Filipino American History Month. We'll also be working with the AVP's office to put on various speaker workout events to talk about labor issues. There's also an update that I will let Austin give at the end of my report about what happened with service workers today. Additionally, you all should have seen my release video from this week that starts my web series, which will get released every 2 weeks. I will give updates from the office and just various issue-based videos as well to increase transparency from the ASUC and specifically my office. We are organizing a sexual assault awareness week before Halloween, and we have a sexual assault task force that's been moving forward on several different resource building that we've been doing. And I'll be issuing out, so it says in my report that we're issuing out a letter on Wednesday morning, but it's gotten delayed after edits again. So it'll be published hopefully by the end of the week, but it'll get sent out to all the chancellors from for the different campuses and also to UCOP. And then we finalized the vision and idea a lot more for the interiors with New Lower Sproul. And then as just was talked about, the chancellor will be here next week. This has actually been on the calendar for a while, but Nolan and I just completely forgot with everything that was going on, so I saw it the other week and have been starting to organize around it. But we're going to have a little mixer. It's not going to be too big of a deal beforehand. He did the same thing for us at the end of our term last semester, and hopefully it'll become a tradition for him. Additionally, I sent out and forwarded you an email today for Decision Maker. So if you can, please take that survey and send it to your constituents. By taking this survey through Decision Maker, it's going to set the priorities for the SIS project. It's like a very, very, very long survey. It's somewhere around 400 questions or something, but there's a specific section that is just related to students. So if you want to just skip all of the rest and only answer the student questions, that's fine. It will be time consuming, but again, this sets the priorities for SIS, so that's really important. I'm also going to send you all and forward you all, if I haven't already, we're doing statement of work workshops all of the week of October 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th for the SIS project as well, which is essentially putting together what we're going to be sending out to vendors. So statements of work are kind of like RFPs and RFIs, which are, I don't know what the acronym stands for, but that's what you send out to vendors when you're looking to hire one. But those workshops are just going to be a lot of dialogues between the folks working on SIS about what we really are going to use or going to charge our vendors with doing once we hire them for the entire SIS project. And then again, as previously mentioned too, I'll be bringing in the special order on SIS, so you finally have like a full preview of what SIS entirely encompasses. On October 9th, Associate CIOs Angela Blackstone and Jennifer Stringer will be coming in to do that presentation. And I think that's all, but Austin, do you want to talk about labor stuff really quickly, and then I'll do questions? Yeah.
Hey everyone, so I think it's important for us to recognize that yesterday UC administrators implemented or forced onto over 8,000 workers across the state an unfair contract. So to give some background information, ASME 3299 is a union that represents over 22,000 workers across the UC system. There's 8,000 service workers who work our dining halls, our custodians, our gardeners, who keep this university running. And they've been negotiating for a new contract, since before last January, when their contract expired. And yesterday, UC decided that they were not going to respect their workers' right to collectively bargain, which is a fundamental workers' right, but they were going to just implement the contract that they wanted. And so what happened with that is the workers are already living with pretty much poverty wages, and this new contract that UC forced onto them does not give them any cost of living adjustment, so it amounts to a 1.5% pay decrease over the next couple of years. It asks that they contribute way more to healthcare over their lifetime. I think it's a $124,000 cut to their healthcare. They ask that they pay more for parking, which is huge because UC workers have to come to park and pay to park every day. Ask that they contribute more to their pension. So across the board, our workers are really getting messed up by UC administrators at the same time that the UC administrators are paying more to their own salaries, and improved across the board 3% pay increase for over 700 employees who make more than the president does, more than the president of the United States. So I think it's just important for us to know, and I think that I will be reaching out to you all about working with some of the senators to get a bill going. To not only, I know that Brianna, I've talked to her about being interested in working on a bill about this, but people who are interested in learning more about this issue, please come and talk to me. But if you also, lastly, if I really encourage you all, the workers are scared right now. It's a huge deal for UC to just basically say that you do not have a right to bargain and we're going to force this contract on you. And so when you interact with workers in your daily lives, please, I encourage you all to tell them that we stand with you, I support you, I thank you for the work that you do, and you keep this university running, and we know that you're part of our community, and I support you. So thank you.
Yeah. So I see that Senator Millen has a question.
Yes, thank you, Austin, for bringing it up. I know Sarah actually came to present just during Senate Leadership Institute. This is something working around organizing student workers. It's especially frightening to think the fact that ASME, which is a recognized union, is being completely ignored in this process. So I think it's important to recognize that students have such a large stake in this. So I will be working on a bill with ASME and the Office of the President if you all would like to collaborate with me. I'd also ask President Pepito to keep us updated on what the relations between UCOP and ASME 3299 happen in the coming days, because basically right now, like, they've just refused to negotiate and instituted a contract. But hopefully there's days of action coming up in which we can publicly say that, you know, this is an unacceptable way really to treat our staff workers who provide us with the level of service and care that they do in this university, and that they are part of this university. When we talked about shared governance, they are a fourth member of shared governance, especially when we look at unions that are being disrespected. So if you all have questions about that or would like to work with me on the bill, I've started it this week, please contact me.
Other questions? I saw Senator Feynman, then Senator Boche. We have about 1 minute left, by the way.
Okay, sorry, I'll talk quick. I had a question about, you said next month was Filipino...
American History Month.
American History Month. Does that coincide with like a national...
Yeah, it is the national one.
It's a national month?
Yeah.
Okay, are we doing anything or like with other campuses or other groups? Or?
So the Filipino American Alliance puts on like a week of events where they're holding different like workshops and stuff, and I can publicize that to you all. There's Sproul Visibility Day, which all the 7 Filipino organizations will be on the Savio steps tabling, doing cultural dances, singing, doing different workshops. Our professors will be out there, and Sean and I invited the first ever elected Filipino American Assembly member, Rob Bonta, and so we're hoping he'll come out and also speak. That'll be October 16th at noon.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we have about 30 seconds left.
Can I move to extend time by 3 minutes?
I am open to that. Again, would discourage that with executive reports. This is always the longest part of the meeting, and so if we're going to extend time, that's fine. But again, like, I encourage executives to be brief in their reports, because we do written reports now, and also for senators to feel free to ask questions offline, because again, like, culturally, this would be a 50-minute chunk of the Senate meeting or more every time. So there's a motion to extend time, apparently. Do we have a... Okay, we need a specific amount, though.
Oh, yeah, I said 3 minutes.
Okay, so it's been moved to extend time by 3 minutes and seconded. Are there any objections to the motion? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, what were the like I just want to know what the demands were in the bargains that that they were going to propose to the UC administrators, or so. Yeah.
We can send out an email.
Yeah. Okay.
With the list.
Yeah,
It's very
cool.
complicated.
All right. Cool.
Other questions?
So I was at the SIS meeting last week, and I know Senator Rafi was also at one of them. And I talked to a couple of the people who worked with, who are working with SIS, and they said that there used to be a council between students and the administrators who were working on SIS called COSE, I think it was, COSE. And that was kind of like a feedback group that regularly met, and that kind of like drowned out toward like for the past year, and they really want that back. So is it feasible to have that go through, you know, OP and have you organize like some kind of thing that's like cozy again, that is like a feedback group for SIS between students and the administrators working on the project? Or is that something that you'd rather have, you know, one of the senator offices do?
Maybe it'll make more sense, I think, on October 9th when you get the special presentation about the governance of it. Because of the structure that we've set up, there's actually a level called the leadership team, which is going to be different students that I haven't appointed yet, but some people emailed me about that already. It'll be students and then the different admin who sit on it also, that are already going to kind of be that way, or that body already. I have other updates about technology at large that we can talk about offline.
Okay, so
yeah.
Sorry, just a quick follow-up. Is it okay to email you then for all of that? To like.
I'm just gonna pull you off the table and talk to you really quick.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, if there are no other questions, we'll move on. Thank you.
One quick last statement. If you all are interested in going to there's an action on Friday that AFSCME is planning to go and protest at the UC Office of the President's office in downtown Oakland. If you're interested in that, please let me know. It'll be from 2 to 5 at the UCOP office. I think it's 111 Franklin Street, downtown Oakland. There's a group that's getting together at 115 on Upper Sproul to go over there. So let me know if you want to go. I encourage you all to support the workers.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so in the interest of letting our other executive officers and their representatives leave sooner, let's move on to our External Affairs VP report, who has a representative from their office to deliver that to us this week.
Hello all. My name is Ismael Contreras. I am the Chief Deputy of Vote Coalition and the External Affairs Vice President, and I'll be delivering the executive report. Questions at the end, I'll try to answer them to the best of your ability.
Could you just give it a mic so you can help me?
I'll try to answer your questions to the best of my abilities at the end. So if we quickly go through the report that you have in your binders, you can see that we've met with the Government and Community Relations contact with the It Can't Wait program, which is a new safety initiative which aims to reduce the practice of texting and driving and ultimately stemming the number of casualties that are related to it. EAVP is encouraging people to participate since it's a very important safety issue. The External Affairs Vice President has met with the State Department within our office, talking about fundraising and logistical issues for Students of Color Conference, which will take place on November 15th through the 17th at UCLA. Applications will be opening on Monday, and they will be accessible online. Going on to working with the city of Berkeley and and campus planning, there are plans to get new light installations. Hopefully by the end of this month. Vinay, our safety director, has sent a final draft of an article with action items to the mayor's office and to the Daily Cal. We're seeing this as our first steps towards getting new light installations in areas that need them. Today there is an event with the organization CAN Kicks Back, which is an event about national debt. Another thing that we had was on Tuesday. Yesterday we had National Voter Registration Day. Vote Coalition tabled on Sproul from 9 to 5 p.m. Just from that, we were able to register about 64 people to vote, which was a good, decent number of people, given that it's an off year. Let's see. Tomorrow at 7 p.m. in 70 Evans, there will be a climate change forum held by the International Affairs Department and EAVP. Guests will include individuals from the Sierra Club, Fossil Free Cal, a professor from CNR, the College of Natural Resources, and the Student Food Collective. It's a panel and open forum format, so individuals will listen to people speak about the issue, and they'll be able to engage in discussion and debate. Future international fair forums will include global poverty issues, women's rights issues such as equal work and pay, student activism in general, Tibet, and universal education. Let's see. The EAVP's also met with the office of Senator Breonna Mullen about a student loan bill, and you can talk to Senator Mullen about that. Also, the office has met with Senator Destiny, about Ignite, which is one of UCSA's campaigns, which is trying to address the issue of state spending on prisons and kind of increasing the spending on education. Also, like what Austin said earlier about ASME and labor issues that came up yesterday, the EAVP is working with UCSA and is working on co-signing a letter with ASME about this issue, and we're trying to formulate what the next steps will be on addressing this issue. And additionally, there will be we've met with the mayor's office about different safety issues. Campaigns we're trying to formulate will include kind of collaboration between Berkeley Police Department, UCPD, and kind of educate the student population. More updates about this will occur throughout the year. That's what I have so far. If there's any questions, I'll be glad to take them.
Do we have questions for our EAVP rep? Okay, great. Thank you, Ismail.
Thank you.
Okay, so if we have a representative from our Academic Affairs VP office or our student advocate. Great. Let's welcome Tim, our student advocate.
Hello, everybody. Outside of the written report, most of the updates I have to do with casework. We have had a very solid case flow this semester so far. All of our 20-plus caseworkers are currently staffed on at least one case, so we're very happy about that. We are thinking of moving into new areas where we could provide casework services. Amongst these is what we see as an opportunity to provide services in regards to student health insurance. In particular, we're concerned about the waiver deadline not being publicized enough and students not having a chance to appeal the insurance that they've been stuck with if they've missed that deadline. And we do have a meeting on the calendar for next week with several TANG Center administrators to discuss how we can be effective in helping students with this. Additionally, we are looking at ways to improve some of our internal practices around casework, and one of the things we are hoping to institute in October is a client feedback survey, so we can collect some information from our clients on how they felt about the outcome of their case, whether they felt that they had a fair process and that we had been able to help them out effectively. Aside from that, one thing that I would like to share with everybody or bring to the Senate's attention is that the Clery statistics for 2012 were recently released, and these are statistics that the federal government mandates each campus, university campus that receives federal aid to publish regarding crime on and around campus. And in particular, these statistics have been instrumental in framing the debate around sexual assault and those kind of issues. The numbers are, for 2012, there were 4 verified reports of forcible sexual offenses, as compared to 23 in 2011 and 4 in 2010. Now, I would say that as you hear these numbers quoted, take them with a grain of salt, because the fact that we dropped from 23 in 2011 to 4 in 2012 may not mean that fewer incidences of it are happening. It may mean that it's being reported less, or that there are other confounding variables there, and it is a small sample size. So I would say that if and when you hear these numbers quoted, just be very careful about thinking critically about what they might mean. So there are other statistics on all sorts of crimes. If you're interested, Ron Coley, the Associate Vice Chancellor for Business and Administrative Services, sent out an email to the whole campus earlier with a link to the annual safety report. So those are all the updates I have outside of the written report.
Okay, do we have any questions for our student advocate, Senator Shen?
Hey Tim, thanks. Could you go a little bit more into your CACSIF meeting, specifically if there are any changes with the fall 2013 proposal cycle? Are there any changes, anything we should know about?
Not that I know of. I mean, I wasn't aware of the committee's proceedings in the last cycle, so for me this is all relatively new, and the previous student advocate was not on that committee, so we did not really have an active part in that. The student advocate's office is looking to author or find ways to push forward a couple of proposals, including one related to training administrators on campus as conflict resolution officers in order to make our grievance procedure more efficacious. We're throwing around a couple of ideas. So most of our work there is just we're trying to come up with ways to fund the projects that we've had ideas for all along. So,
Senator Mullen.
Could you speak in regards to the discuss potential student concerns regarding banking consolidation and how they might have been received at the meeting? Because I know we had brought up a lot of information last week, which I really appreciate you and Rishi taking the time to explain it to us all.
So I think Rishi would definitely be a better person to speak on this. Rishi, would you care to talk about that?
So
So one update on that front, last week, myself and the GA representative met with Ron Coley and the president of the consulting firm we're hiring to help us with the RFP process to outline all of our concerns in terms of what's been going on so far. Right now, the kind of conversation they're having is starting to think about an inventory of what items they want to put forward to even discuss at university-wide level, right? And to assess what the value is on all those terms. So at this time, there's not even really a list of discussion points in terms of what the items are. I think where it's going to be really crucial is that once that list is put together, I'm going to give it to all of you folks, and I want you to, I think, then have a discussion about what we think should be completely off the table and why.
Okay.
So I will definitely have that to you once I have it myself, and then we can move forward from there.
Okay, thank you
Great.
so much, Rishi.
Other questions for Student Advocate's Office? All right, great, thank you. Okay, if we don't have a rep from AAVP yet, I'll go ahead into my report. Oh, okay, so my written report is here. It's pretty extensive, so you all can see that. Some of the things that I would note that are not on the written report, I'll be very brief this week. After discussions with our finance committee members about student group advising and the way that it relates to the portrayal of what finance committee can do for student groups, I have requested a meeting between lead center advisors and finance committee members so that you all can talk about mutual expectations and really get everybody on the same page about what can and cannot happen in finance committee, so that student groups have realistic expectations, so that the lead center understands things like soft caps and can inform student groups accordingly, that sort of thing. So hopefully, depending on how people's schedules work out, we can move forward with that in the future. Just know that the meeting has been requested, and for future updates on that, I would defer to our finance committee chair, Noeed, who will be in conversations with Jamie about that. One other note is that one of my projects in EVP office relating to projects in development is the sort of combination student resource portal, and then think of it like about.com, and then the ASUC wiki, think of it like Wikipedia. There's a concurrent project that's already funded, apparently, that we just learned about in talking with the lead center about the ASUC archives and trying to digitize the ASUC archives. We have many boxes of papers stored in the Bancroft Library, as well as many papers that our previous advisor, Jan Crowder, left us. And so the lead center has an intern who's going to be working on that. Not yet hired, but they're going to have an intern who's going to work on digitizing that. So I'm doing my best to synchronize with the lead center and make sure that as we are digitizing these paper files, which essentially entails scanning them, that we are also developing content for the ASUC wiki where that's applicable, so that we have the history there. Related, I'm also in the process of collecting 10 total boxes of ASUC's legal documents going back to the 1970s and scanning them. And so we have like many interesting pieces of ASUC history that are sort of coming in and being digitized now. Again, all part of that project. Some brief things that I would highlight from the report. I know lots of people last time had questions or were apprehensive about the ASUC Auxiliaries rebranding, naming discussion that's going on right now. Again, that's a continuing discussion. To highlight, again, what happened there, the Auxiliaries discussion on naming is centering around two things that may be completely separate or maybe a similar name, and that is the organization that is the ASUC Auxiliary and the space that is Lower Sproul, including Eshelman, MLK, and the Lower Sproul area. So student union has been a very popular term in the discussions, as opposed to a number of other interesting terms that other campuses use for their student union-like complexes. So look forward to updates on that. And then for those of you who are familiar with the Take Back the Tap campaign, it's something that was really closely integrated with the ASUC when Senator Elliott Goldstein from the co-ops was involved in the Senate. It's since sort of been unclear what the leadership model of that looks like, and Senator Goldstein reached out to us to follow up on it, and we in the EVP office have taken on the project as part of our sustainability department to make sure that the will to stop the privatization of water and sale of bottled water on campus that the Senate has expressed in the past is being considered as we move forward in Lower Sproul, vendor relations, that sort of thing. And look forward to more updates on the Take Back the Tap campaign. Other than that, the content for my update this week is written, and if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. Any questions before we move on to AAVP? Awesome, thank you. So let's invite up our Academic Affairs Vice President's representative to deliver his report.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sidroni Jacobo, former senator, but I'm here today on behalf of Valerie Jameson's Academic Affairs Vice President's office. Unfortunately, she's a little bit under the weather, but she wanted to make sure that this information was available for y'all to, if you have any questions, but also for the public. So first off, and also if you have any questions, I could write them down for y'all, and she said that she'll make sure to respond within 24 hours. So yeah, that's towards the end. So first off, the Berkeley Student Foundation Scholarship. So they're reviewing the applications from last year because unfortunately my class was neglected the completion process. So before they move on with the applications this year, they're trying to make sure that they solidify the recipients for that year. So they're trying to expedite the allocation process, and she's hoping to have potential collaborations with the BSF, especially since the RISE scholarship was able to be funded through this scholarship. Also, the Academic Senate Director held training this week. The trainings were conducted for the student representatives of the Academic Senate trainings. This happened last Saturday. Although she was only able to be there for a brief moment, her understanding of the goals and the agendas of the event was that it was an opportunity to familiarize reps with the governing structure of the Academic Senate, along with logistics of what their responsibilities and roles were. Also on the Executive Vice Chancellor's provost, the first round of interviews were conducted and reviewed for the next Executive Vice Chancellors and provosts. We advise the chancellors on how to proceed for the second phase of interviews, and they will reconvene earlier on October. Also, on terms of the grants, probably a lot of people are going to have questions on this, but the grants coordinators mentioned that they were exceeding the amount of attendings, that they exceeded the amount of attendees for the first semester grant workshop. So that's, I guess, something good. However, it was still a moderate number compared to what they anticipated. All grants started meeting last week and with student groups, and some grants such as the Educational Enhancement Fund are exceeding their average productivity. So I guess they're trying to look out on that one. And also, there was the first Student Advisory Committee on Undergraduate Education last Wednesday from 3:45 to 5:45, and she mentions that it was off to a good start. They had Kathy Koshland explain her position on the multiple hats she wears as a vice provost, and also Pamela Brown came in and did a systems demos on student curriculum. Given to scheduling conflicts, they had a few student reps jobs. So I guess this is a message for y'all senators. If you know any students in the fields below, such as College of Chemistry, College of Environmental Design, College of Natural Resources, and Letters in Science, Biological Sciences, and also LS, Undergraduate Interdisciplinary Studies, if they could email their resume and or cover letter to Christian Teeter, so that's cteeter@berkeley.edu. And lastly, no, those are all her, I guess, her report. So any questions?
Senator Mullen.
It's not so much a question as just an inquiry for the other senators. We had Academic Senate training on Saturday. Like Sid reported, Doug Taylor, who's Academic Senate Director, Quinn, Caitlin, Wendy, there's another senator, right? No, that's just it. And a couple other folks outside of the Senate are all Academic Senate representatives. And one thing that we all really we discussed a little bit, was opening up the space of Academic Senate to the larger student body, because it's something that's pretty not understood, even by ourselves until Saturday. So we're working on some online ways to reach out to students. So if you all have questions about the Academic Senate or ways that maybe we can help make our reports from those meetings, since they are closed, more available to students, because a lot of times it affects really important academic planning issues, creation and deletion of minors and majors on campus. So please help us.
Okay, other questions, Senator Woche?
Just, I guess, to be honest, if you can forward the list of people who are on the academic senate, students here. Thank you.
Okay, other questions for our AAVP rep? Great, if there are none, we'll move on. Thank you.
All right.
So normally we would do appointments now. I'm in a little bit of a dilemma because I don't have the recommended stipend amount for Berkeley Cribs. So we're going to pause on this and come back to this item on the agenda once we've verified what that amount is supposed to be. I have to read that for the minutes in order to approve that stipend. Let's for now, though, move on to our special order presentation from Big Ideas at Berkeley. Do we have our group here? Hi.
Hey everybody, my name's Jessica Necker. I have materials that I love to pass out, so I'm going to pass them out. What's your name? Okay, so what I'm hoping to do is to...
Can you please speak into the microphone? Thank you.
Sorry. What I'm hoping to do is sort of introduce you guys to the Big Ideas at Berkeley contest so that you can share this information with people who you represent, with whom you work. So my name's Jessica Necker. I'm a graduate student at Berkeley, and I also, in my other life, work at Big Ideas at Berkeley, and I help run the contest. So can I ask really quickly, how many of you have heard of the Big Ideas at Berkeley contest? Yay! How many of you feel like you actually know what it is and know how to apply and know what the rules are? Okay. Okay, so that's sort of what I figured. So I feel like at this point, Big Ideas has a presence on campus, but people don't really know what the contest is. So I'm going to, in 3 minutes or less, break it down. Am I not speaking into the mic? Better?
Just speak louder.
Yeah.
Louder. Okay, I can do louder. Okay, so Big Ideas at its heart is an annual student innovation contest. Each year we hold this contest. It's different from others on campus because it's not about companies who are making a profit. It's all about sort of doing social good and social innovation. It's also, it's also for students who have ideas who are at the very beginning stages. So this isn't necessarily for students who have well-established ideas that they have tested. It's for students who have ideas that have popped into their heads during lecture and sort of are thinking about ways that they might be able to implement them. Big Ideas is broken up into 2 rounds. So in the fall, there is a first round. The deadline is November 5th, so that's sort of something I want you all to come away with. If you know students who might be interested, if you want to share this with students, they have to enter the contest by November 5th. There's a handy timeline that you can reference. And so in the pre-proposal round, students submit a 5-page proposal that really just sort of outlines the basics of their ideas, what they want to do, how they plan to do it, what sort of social good they think it will make. Those entries are judged by a panel of judges, and then a select group of finalists continue on to the second round in the spring. Then they submit a slightly larger proposal that sort of more fully outlines what they hope to do. And in the spring, winners are selected. So there are 9 different contest categories. Students can enter in any one of those categories, and there are multiple winners within each category. And the average grant amount is about $5,000. So students can get some amount of substantial money for their idea to implement their idea. It's open to undergraduates and graduate students. Each year it's mostly undergraduates who enter and win the contest, but it's open to anyone, and we really encourage interdisciplinary teams to enter. What else should I say? So there are 9 contest categories. Like I said, they span disciplines, they span departments, so we really encourage students from across campus to enter. And then students do a whole bunch of awesome things each year. There are globally focused projects where students will go to Uganda or South India or wherever you can imagine and tackle issues of education and food scarcity and water purification, things like that. But students also do things closer to home. There's an Improving Student Life category where Berkeley students enter every year and think of ways to improve the campus. So there are student groups that have entered in one, like Suitcase Clinic, Berkeley Project, Berkeley Student Food Collective. And so there are lots of ways for students to get involved. So if you take away anything tonight, I would want you to take away that We know that Berkeley students are creative and brilliant and are change makers. That's what Berkeley students are. That's part of the identity of being a Berkeley student. They're already doing these things, and they can get money for it by entering the contest. Second thing, deadline November 5th. Don't forget. Third, tons of information on our website, bigideas.berkeley.edu. You can email us at bigideas@berkeley.edu if you have questions. Cool? People feel like they know what the contest is now? Yeah. Cool. Okay. That's
Great.
it. Are there questions about it?
Questions for Senator Pandya, then Senator Lee.
Just really quickly, what's like the main source of funding for Big Ideas?
So there are many. So the contest, sort of like the ongoing operations costs of the contest are funded by the William and Virginia Rudd Foundation, so private donors. Then each of the categories has their own donors and sponsors who run it each year, who give money each year.
And sorry, what was the email address to contact if we have questions?
bigideas@berkeley.edu.
Okay, Senator Lee.
Hi. So I was just wondering, I'm looking at your timeline. When do you guys establish what your timeline agenda is, and when do you kind of plan that out? Because looking at it and looking at all of like the communities that are involved and other business organizations, like how can we get them involved in your timeline and like what events you're throwing, X, Y, and Z?
So each year the timeline is really determined at the beginning of the fall semester, and it's tough. Like students have to know about and enter the contest by November to benefit from it, and to sort of get the money by the end of the summer. And so there are tons of different resources and events. There's like a resources page in the fold-out thing. You guys can look at all the events that we're throwing. Most of them are sort of like going on right now. We do info sessions and workshops and events where students can come and pitch their ideas and get feedback and form teams and things like that. So the timeline's already set. Each year it's roughly the same, and we're hoping you guys can help us get students involved.
Great, thank you. Other questions for our presenter? No?
Cool.
Okay.
Thank
cool.
you.
Thank you. So we would move on to legislative officer reports, but we literally have none of these people appointed, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, I know that the committees are hard at work to make sure that this happens. So let's then move into standing committee reports and hear briefly from our committee chairs. This week and in future weeks, what we're trying to do is print the bills that were passed or passed with amendments out of committee on the consent calendar in the agenda in front of you, rather than sort of adding that as an afterthought after you all report. So in your committee reports, please make any corrections, additions, subtractions, and so forth to the consent calendar, and be sure to let us know which bills were passed with amendments as opposed to the ones that were just passed the way that they were, or tabled, or so forth. So let's start with Finance Committee.
Hi everyone. So for this week in Finance Committee, we had 3 appendixes to the budget bill, and only one of them requested funding, which was Asian American Association. They requested $9,300, but were not present at the meeting, so we decided to table that so they can actually come and talk to us about that funding. So we tabled that, and then we passed the other 2 sponsorships. So out of Senate contingency, $0 came out this week, which is cool. And then we also discussed waivers for Finance Committee. So if groups wanted to fill out a waiver saying they want more funding, like they actually want us to fund their food, they can submit a waiver and we'd consider it. But we decided to strike some waivers from bylaws. So no group can like submit a waiver to pay registration fees for intramural teams. No group can submit waivers to purchase or reimburse a group for flyers that do not display the words sponsored by the ASUC or ASUC. We decided to strike purchase or would strike the waiver to purchase or reimburse a group for flyers advertising that do not indicate the degree of wheelchair accessibility to the event described by the flyer, so ADA accessibility. And then the last one was to purchase or reimburse a group for stationery that does not display the logo of the ASUC. So does anyone have any questions? No questions.
Questions for our Finance Committee Chair?
It's not a bylaw revision. So it wasn't a bylaw revision. We just decided as a committee like that we are choosing not to accept waiver like requests for those specific things.
Yeah, those are approved by a 2/3 vote of the committee. So if collectively the committee has decided that they just won't entertain those waiver requests, that's at the committee's discretion. Senator Mullen?
Can you send out an email so we can reference that in regards to like our soft caps as well? In the minutes, right?
It's in the minutes, but I will send you all an extensive email about it. All right, cool.
Yeah, I would also just request that Finance Committee bring that up in the conversation with Lead Center to make sure the advisors are on the same page about those. Cool. Thank you. Constitutional, SB 12 amended. Constitutional and Procedural Review Committee.
So for constitutional and procedural review, we started our first round of judicial council interviews. This week, we only had one nominee interviewed, and next week we have a pretty tight schedule with about 8 or 9 interviews. And then we'll have the judicial council appointed no later than October 7th, which is that Monday, the following Monday. In regards to the ASUC representative bill reform, each of the senators have already been tasked at looking at the bylaws for which ASUC representative is appointed where, or is appointed by whom. So we'll have that reform soon as well.
And then to clarify, were there bills that were reported out? No.
For clarification, SB 10 was tabled last week, so I think it needs to be amended in the agenda. My apologies for not seeing it before. It'll be tabled until we have time after J-Council to actually go through all the programs in the bylaws and look at creating a title specifically for ASUC programs.
Yes, thank you for the clarification. And again, just to make the process easier for our office manager, who's the one who puts together the agenda, if as soon as you all approve table whatever bills and committees, at the end of committee, if you all can just send him the list. It literally can say like SB 09T for tabled, SB 09A for amended, and you can, it's a very brief process, but it really helps us make sure that the agenda has the actual content on it that's going to be covered in the meeting, again, in the interest of keeping things transparent with the public posting of our agendas. So let's move on to University and External Affairs.
Senator Truax had to step out, so she asked me to talk, but we had a very short meeting. It was great. We only had 2 bills to discuss. SB 9, which is a resolution in support of Prop 13 reform, passed with an amendment just to kind of clarify what EAVP McCly's office would be doing about that. Since it is an institutionalized UCSA campaign, there's not going to be any problem with that. And then my bill, SB 11, a bill in opposition to Keystone XL pipeline. The only amendments were that the entire Cal Berkeley Democrats executive board endorsed it, and my girl, Senator Pacheco, endorsed it too. So we ended at like before 9:40. Sorry, y'all.
All right, so if I'm counting things correctly, that leaves us with, in consent calendar, Senate Bills 9, 11, and 12 as amended. Is there anything missing based on what the committee's reported? Okay, so we'll move on into consent calendar. Would anyone, and with the understanding that SB 10 is not actually on the consent calendar, it's a typo, it shouldn't be there. So with that understanding, is there anything that any senators would like to pull from this week's consent calendar?
I would like to pull SB 11.
Okay, so SB 11 now moves into immediate consideration. Is there anything else that people would like to pull from the consent calendar? Okay, so the consent calendar is passed with SB 9 and SB 12 as amended in committee. We now move into immediate consideration. So let's briefly turn to your bills tab. I think that should be under 3. There's a printed copy of the new advocacy agenda bill. Where is it? Yeah, but we're going to advocacy agenda first. Where is that? Advocacy agenda is under tab 5. So the only, I guess, edit, since this is under immediate consideration, is that the authors I didn't personally author the bill. It was my legislative department. I am sponsoring the bill because the Senate delegated it to EVP's office in order to synthesize what was given to me by the different sources. But for the record, can we note the authors of the bill? Okay, so we'll put the Senate Vice Chair, Lizzie Hennis, as the author. Thank you, Lizzie, for putting this together. I touched base with the committee chairs to make sure that the language accurately reflects what the planks of the advocacy agenda as passed in committee looked like. If you could take a moment to sort of review it. Really, the content of the bill is the be it resolved clauses. We follow the model of previous advocacy agenda bills where we sort of just state, we have to do an advocacy agenda because of XYZ reason. Therefore, be it resolved that we're going to focus on these three things. And so the advocacy agenda, again, is a guiding directive to the Office of the President, and there are specific ways that the planks have to be set up. They're supposed to show what the plank is. They're supposed to tell a little story about it, but also like a sort of plan forward to make sure that this works. So are there any questions or comments about the advocacy agenda bill? Senator Boche?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to, I think it's good. I just wanted to make an amendment, if possible. Would I?
Okay, what is the concern?
Just after the word low income, I would just add low income and middle class students. Just wanted to add that as opposed to just having low income.
So for the advocacy agenda committee that passed that is that like an accurate reflection of what you all, of the spirit of what you put into this plank?
So this might. Anyway. So under the first part where it says that the first plank of the advocacy agenda for 2013-2014 will be to address the issue of low-income students. I would add to address the issue of low-income and middle-class students. Yeah.
Okay, so we have that suggestion. I would like really quickly to touch base with the committee members who sat on the advocacy agenda committee that dealt with this plank. Was that? Okay.
That's external. Does anybody want to speak?
Yeah, I'm asking the members of that committee if this reflects the spirit of what you tried to put into the plank. Senator Pacheco?
No, that does not reflect the spirit of what we try to put into the plank. I think it is specifically towards low income, just because low income students have a more difficult time in navigating university, given the financial restrictions that they have as low income students, right? Regardless of the amount of financial aid, a lot of that is known. That is not necessarily free money, right? Like that does have to be repaid. So even given graduation, there is debt burden that low income students have to undergo, thus reflective of this plank and what low income students.
Okay, Senators Quinn and then Pandya.
And it's not saying that folks that aren't low income can't benefit from these, but the intent of this program is to alleviate the pains of low income students.
Senator Pandya.
Just a point of information. So when it says students taking on many extracurricular activities and or jobs, are there specific extracurricular activities that you're addressing? Because like, I don't want this to, extracurricular activity is kind of just like a broad description, right? And I don't think that income and like monetized things have to do with extracurricular activities as much as the jobs in a sense. And so the wording of that is just kind of a little bit vague in terms of extracurricular activities to me. And I think that if we were going to include extracurricular activities, then it should not just be low-income students. So I feel like one or the other should be
Just a clarifying note on the nature of the advocacy agenda. While there are certain things that it's supposed to list in terms of a general direction, it's not something that's supposed to be extremely prescriptive. The Senate, again, is sort of a body that's issuing a direction for the Office of the President, and I do think it's important for us to leave room for Office of the President or other implementing office to have some way to implement the plan and the latitude there. So, Senator Wilche?
Yeah, and I mean, I just want to address the fact that I do understand you're saying it's for many low-income students they don't have the resources, but also for many middle-class students that's also the reality. So a lot of middle-class students, because they don't fall into the low-income bracket or so, many of them don't receive financial aid or so, and that's the reason why I'm just asking for this to also reflect middle-class students who don't get those services or so. Myself, I'm a low-income student, but I'm also thinking of middle-class students who aren't part of my constituency who tell me, Solomon, I don't receive financial aid. Solomon, I have to take out 2 or 3 jobs, and I don't receive any financial aid because I make a few dollars over the low-income amount, and that's why I'm saying that I feel that this should include the middle-class part. And that part, if it doesn't on that part, then myself will have to vote against it in mind of middle-class students in my constituency base. So
just again, one additional clarifying thing is that I would put out on the table the observation that we do have, and had in very recent history, a middle class scholarship fund that was passed. And so, not to mitigate the concerns of middle class students, but it is a concern that has been addressed in other forums. I do want to defer back to the members of the committee who participated in this discussion. So if you are on the External Affairs Committee, I just would like to give you an opportunity to talk about your plank as it's presented here. Senator Quinn?
I just want to clarify our intent. Basically, we were talking about how in multiple internships, extracurricular things that we've done on campus, we've been able to get either units or money or something. Like when I intern for the Gender Equity Resource Center, I can get 1 to 3 units, right? There's no reason that other organizations' times are any less valuable. It just happens that Gen Ec is a part of the university. So we were thinking it would be along the lines of like, maybe the 20 of us could get some money or some units or something. So it's not specifically like any certain extracurriculars. It's like opening it up to seeing which extracurriculars we could make count for units or money or something, so that people don't have to work 2 to 3 jobs. So people can do the extracurriculars that'll help them get a job right after college, right? Because folks that have to work all their way through college and can't afford to be in the ASUC Senate or in other extracurricular activities are going to have less advantage when they go to the job market.
Senator Mullen?
To clarify, the program as prescribed by the committee, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is not limited to low-income students. It's just the intent is specifically because of a struggle of low-income students, but the program would be open to all students. So I think maybe this discourse isn't needed.
Yeah, I would also, to follow off for the observation that there are the sentence has 2 parts, right? There's like the issue of low-income students and students taking on many extracurricular activities, right? So those are 2 separate groups where the second group does not have like an income bracket assigned to it. Senator Pacheco?
No. Okay, whatever. Anyway, yes to what has been said. Like the intent was for low income. Like that's the narrative that we want to push, right? Is that low income students do have like these harder financial struggles that don't necessarily fall on the shoulders of like middle class, upper middle class students. But also this plank is to question like forms of knowledge, right? And to really push the idea that we learn a lot from these extracurricular activities. So it's not limited to anyone, right? Like if you want to be a vet and you're majoring in like bio or whatever, like for you to be able to go to veterinarian and intern, like that is valid. That is a valid form of knowledge in which you are learning that is not necessarily given in the classroom, right? So that's like also a bigger intention, just to shift like the conversation, not just it being about money, but also like what validity is given to certain forms of knowledge by the university.
Okay, so I'd like to wrap up discussion on this if we can. Are there other questions about this plank or other planks in the advocacy agenda that we should address before we move on?
So just clarification, so are we just gonna, vote on it, or what are you just?
No, I would like to discuss the bill holistically before we do.
Okay. Yeah, can I just make my?
Sure.
Yeah. I get with everything everyone's saying in terms of the fact that it doesn't have to strictly list middle class or so, but so if that was because of the fact that you're saying that the second portion covers for students who work jobs and other resources, but if in fact that's the case, then I don't see why there should be a problem just inserting that there. And the reason why I want to insert that there is because in the future, when we're taking stance on issues or we're making other university-like projects or so, we're going to look to our advocacy agenda and we're going to say what was the objective of this, and they're going to say low-income students, et cetera, and that's why I want to include middle-class students. And if in fact you all are saying that it is open to middle-class students, then I don't see why it should be a problem not to have it in there. So once again, I just would like for that to be put in there. But yeah.
Okay, Senator Roche, will you make a motion to that effect so that we can vote on that if that's?
Yeah. So once again, I make a motion for it to read that the first plank of the advocacy agenda for 2013-2014 will be to address the same issue of low incomes and middle class students.
Okay, so procedurally there is
Request
one.
for information. Is there a specific reason why in the advocacy agenda, like all the, because I know initially when the committees write them, like there's kind of like a detailed like whereas clauses, so you really kind of build up to each plank. And I think it's kind of lost when you are only presented with like a single, therefore, like it's a great summary, but I don't think like the same, the entire intent is there. So is there a reason why it's structured this way, or was kind of structured this way?
Yeah, so the advocacy agenda is meant to be one Senate bill, right? So rather than producing 3 different Senate bills, the bylaws prescribe that the advocacy agenda be presented as SB1. The advocacy agenda committees are instructed to develop a plank which takes the form of a resolved clause. It doesn't preclude including copious whereas clauses, but if you consider that functionally that would put 3 Senate bills into one bill, it would be a very long bill. And you can imagine this discussion being amplified by many times as we discuss the semantics of the various whereas clauses that are included in the Senate bill. So I think that if committees or individuals are interested in passing affirmations of the particular spirit or intent of clauses as a Senate bill, I would definitely urge you to do that. The advocacy agenda bill is not meant to take a strong stance on a specific issue so much as lay out 3 issues that we're directing the office of the president to execute. So if it's the will of the Senate, we can move that back and we can add all the whereas clauses, and it could be a very long bill. I predict that would be a very interesting discussion when we bring that back to the Senate floor. I would remind the Senate, though, that there is a motion on the floor, and we technically have 1 minute to obtain a second to the motion, which I believe has elapsed. So if there, okay, the motion has been moved and seconded. Comments on the motion that are different than what's been said already. Does anybody have anything new and groundbreaking to share with us before we vote on this? Okay, Senator Snell.
I guess I would like to add that I think it is very important to kind of clarify the narrative of low-income students, and just to be cognizant of the dialogue that has been going on. I do agree that some middle-class folks do have to take multiple jobs, but just because low-income people get full financial aid or just some financial aid does not mean that they don't have to work multiple jobs. Me as a student, I have worked multiple jobs at campus, worked full-time, and went to school full-time. So please do not. Just be very cognizant of this, and I think it's very important to push this type of narrative in.
Okay. Other comments before we move to a vote on the proposed amendments? Okay. I guess we can vote by show of hands. All those who are in favor of the motion, please raise your hand so that we can count you. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so all of those who are opposed to the motion. Okay, those who abstain. We had 6 to 13, something's wrong. Okay. Okay, so with a vote of 6 in favor and 13 not in favor, that motion doesn't pass. I would again reiterate to the Senate that if we want to pass an affirmation of middle-class students or low-income students for that matter, we have ample opportunity to introduce those Senate bills. Again, this advocacy agenda bill is a directive to Office of the President. Senator Feynman?
Yeah, I move that we vote on the entire bill as it reads now.
Okay, so if there's no other discussion on the other clauses within the bill, yes, Senator Muller?
No, it's not about a clause. I just wanted to address Solomon's point that he maybe would not vote in favor, and I would encourage him to vote in favor of this bill just because a unanimously approved advocacy agenda is an important symbol of the fact that the 20 of us have taken the time in the last 2 weeks to really put together these issues that we find are collaborative in nature and are the 3 issues that are really addressing student life right now. So I understand your concerns with the amendment, and I would love to work with you on a bill and actually encourage you to co-sponsor my next bill about student loan debt. But really look at the fact that this advocacy agenda bill is about the ASUC moving forward on 3 issues, and the 20 of us unanimously supporting it would be a huge sign in favor of that.
With that said, actually, I think this is a great opportunity to add sponsors to the bill. So are there any senators who would like to add themselves as sponsors to the bill? Please raise your hands if so. Actually, let's do it in reverse. Are there senators who would not like to sponsor the bill? Okay, so we'll give Senator Truax an also, just to clarify, sponsorship is generally not something that's dealt with as an amendment per se. Sponsors can be added at any stage of the bill process without a formal amendment. I did just want to give you all the opportunity. So if if the Senate is okay with it, if Senator Truax agrees to sponsor the advocacy agenda bill as well after she comes back, we will note in the minutes that she also approved as a sponsor. Cool. So that means we have 20 senators now as sponsors to the bill, along with Lizzie and myself. With that said, I believe there has been a motion to approve the advocacy agenda bill as it is by Senator Feinman. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any objections to the motion? Any abstentions? Seeing none, motion carries without objection. It's as close to unanimous as we can get without one senator here. So. Let's move on then to the other part of immediate consideration, which I believe is SB 11. As the bylaws require, the author of the bill or the maker of the main motion, which in this case is Senator Quinn, has an opportunity to speak about the bill before we enter discussion on the bill. So Senator Quinn, would you like to open this for us?
Y'all have had the language for a bill. It had no problems in external. Everyone was actually really supportive, and I really appreciated that everyone took the time to read through all the sources. I know it's a long bill. I know it has a lot of sources, so I don't want to bore everyone. Like, I don't think it's boring, but you all might. But basically, this is one of the very few issues that lots of people across the board agree on. Unions agree on it, the environmental movement agrees on it, the indigenous populations agree on it. This pipeline extension is just really, really dangerous for our entire, like, the Midwest farmers, like, not only their water, like the giant aquifer under the Midwest plains, but also it's actually bad for their oil prices. A lot of the oil that they get right now is from Canada, and if it does get shipped from Alberta, Canada, down to the Texas refineries and exported internationally, that's actually bad for Midwest oil prices. So Keystone XL is actually bad for oil prices in America. And the Keystone XL oil is never meant to go to America. It's just getting refined in Texas refineries to be exported. It's not for American consumption. But I think one of the main points of my bill is that this pipeline is really, really harmful to Indigenous communities in Canada. Environmental racism is a huge problem in I guess, Northern America, but really all over the world, right? There's these really, really high rates of cancer in the populations that have been being pushed out because of the tar sands. Again, I encourage you all to read the bill. If you all have specific questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. But basically, Keystone XL is really, really bad and environmentally racist and all sorts of really bad things, and it would basically be a catastrophe. Come on, Obama.
Okay, are there any other any questions for the author of the bill after that presentation? Comments? Senator Week?
Point of information, I might be incorrect, but I thought only elected officials could sponsor bills. Is that correct?
Only elected officials, sorry, let me backtrack. An elected official must sponsor the bill in order for it to appear before the Senate. It's not correct that only elected officials can sponsor bills. So you can't just have a bunch of clubs that are sponsoring it and have it be submitted. It must have a senator executive as a sponsor.
Just to clarify the amendment you said earlier, it's changing not that the Berkeley Democrats aren't sponsoring it, but their entire executive board is sponsoring it now.
Yeah, instead of just the sustainability director.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Comment, Senator Woche?
Yeah, just wondering, so is this time for debate or is just for the questions? Or
I mean, this would be the time when we make comments on the bills. If you have questions, I would direct them to Senator Quinn, the author of the bill, and if you have proposed amendments, please articulate them so that we can deal with them accordingly.
Oh, yeah, I mean, well, for me, I mean, personally, the reason why I'm in opposition to this is because of the fact that I feel that it was more, so I do understand the climate concerns or so, but I did research, and from what I understand, this would increase global warming. This would increase gases, according to your bill, by 12%. Other sources say different, but let me assume that's correct or so. From what I understand, it's going to increase the overall global climate by 0.03% over the next 100 years or so. And another issue is the fact that even if the Keystone pipeline isn't built here, it's still going to go. They're still going to ship the oil over there to China. And not only that, in addition to that, we're getting our oil from places in the Middle East, which are very volatile, which do control our sources. And as you can see, a lot of times we do get involved in wars outside the nation because of these facts or so. And not only that, the third point I want to make is the fact that part of the Keystone pipeline has already been built. I think the first time Obama rejected it in January, he rejected in January, and then they chose another route. So from my understanding, part of it's already been built, and then now it's just I think up to 90%, and now they're just asking for them to actually finish the pipeline and to finish building it and to pump the oil. So once again, the climate concerns that you addressed will still happen because they're still going to just ship the oil outside to China or so. And that's the reason why I feel that we should build the pipeline. I do understand environmental concerns, but environmental concerns don't come and address if it's still going to happen anyway if the pipeline is going to be built or not. So yeah.
Senator Quinn.
I wouldn't make light of the environmental concerns. They are ginormous. Like, I don't even have a word for how big they are. And yes, the pipeline has already been built. Keystone has been built. This is about the extension, Keystone XL. And I already said, but I'll say it again, this doesn't bring oil into America. It brings oil to refineries in Texas, which are specifically on the Gulf of Mexico, so that they can be shipped elsewhere. Like, this is never oil that was going to be coming into America for consumption, so it has nothing to do with the oil that we're getting from the Middle East right now. Like, that's a whole nother bill. We can work on that bill. Like, let's talk about that, because that's a big issue. I'm not gonna say it's not, but that's pretty much unrelated, and that's stipulated in the bill. Other than that, no, the pipeline already exists, and I'm opposed to the pipeline that already exists, but this bill is about the extension that is possible, and the only person that has any control over that is President Obama, because it goes over the Canadian border, which is why we're asking President Pepito to write a letter to President Obama and oppose that extensions for the reasons in the bill.
So I don't know that this debate is changing people's minds. Can I just sort of get like a straw poll on that? Are people like on the edge of their seat about how this is going to turn out? Okay, so in the interest of sort of being productive with Senator's time, yes, Senator Feynman?
Can I move to vote on the bill then?
Wonderful. Okay, so we have, thank you. We have a motion to vote on the bill. Is there a second? Second. Okay, so briefly on discussion on the bill, I would say as someone who worked a lot on environmental activism, I'm really excited about this bill, and the ASUC has a really long history of supporting environmental activism because of our place in the world and a place as a visible public university. This is often something, and environmental issues in particular, that bring the whole Senate together around something that has really like potentially large consequences. The other thing, to the extent that people did read the sources in Senator Quinn's bill, I would say thank you all for doing that, especially like more with external bills than any other type of bill. The type of sources that you put into the bill are important, and I appreciate when people do that type of research because it really helps to guide the discussion. So I also would like to take an opportunity in discussion to add myself as a sponsor to the bill if the author is cool with that. And similarly, since we pulled this for immediate consideration, if anybody else would like to add themselves as a sponsor, we would do that now. So we have Senators Mullen, Mohabbat, Kong, Iwama, Wu. Is that, Senator Yapadil, is that hand up, hand down? Okay. Senator Tan, Senator Snone. Okay. Okay. Now, to return to Senator Feynman's motion on this, and with the introduction that was given by the author of the bill, all those who are in favor of SB 11 passing as it is written, please raise your hands. Okay, all those who are opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, seeing no abstentions, we have a vote of 18 in favor and 1 opposed. That bill passes in immediate consideration. Thank you all for that. And let's return then to our agenda. I believe these are the only 2 things that we had under immediate consideration. We don't have any old business this week. We now move into special committee reports. Again, with the understanding that special committees have been sort of grouped in a way where you all are dealing with certain appointment processes. So if the chairs of those committees would like to give us any particular updates, feel free to do that now. Do we have any updates from special committees that the committee chairs would like to give us? Senator Feynman?
Hi everyone, so I'm the chair for Temporary Committee 2 in charge of appointing a Greek Affairs officer and fundraising director. I think we're okay on the Greek Affairs officer front in terms of, finding people who are interested. But as far as fundraising director goes, it can be a little challenging and taxing for us to find someone who's like not only qualified but interested in the position. So it's a very vague position, and I think it's intentionally vague for various reasons. So that person is in charge of, I guess, assisting in fundraising for the ASUC. Nolan, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that.
It is a vague position.
Yeah, so if anyone knows any friends, I'm wary of opening up to the general public just because I don't want our temporary committee to get swarmed with like hundreds of applications because we have to interview like all of them. But if anyone knows of anyone who's interested in that and they can, take that to their respective communities and kind of help us out and then send their resumes to me or any other temporary committee members. I think there's Senator Feynman, Senator Woma, Senator Week, and Senator Swan on that. So that is all. Any questions?
Just to add, if you want to see like the bylaw description, we can send out what the bylaws say about the fundraising director, so you guys have that information.
Yeah, and I would note, if I'm not mistaken, that fortunately the fundraising director is not one of the positions where Senate business halts if we haven't approved them by a certain week, and I would urge all of the temporary committees to prioritize those committees because most of them, the earliest deadlines I believe are at the 6th regular meeting, and believe it or not, we're coming up at that point soon, so we really do have a timeline that we have to work with in terms of getting some of these appointments filled, Attorney General, Judicial Council, things of that nature. Senator Mullen?
Maybe this is a question for the webmaster, but in what ways, because I would disagree, I think we should open them up to the public, and if we could actually list them on the website, maybe on the front page right now, since we are still in a process where we could add more nominations, just because I think, you could find a fundraising director somewhere who had never been involved with the ASUC but has really great skills.
Yeah, so with that said, if the committee can do a clear job description, and probably for the average student, not just a copied and pasted version of the bylaws, because that can not always be exactly clear about what you're doing, and so maybe just a brief overview of what the job may entail. I find it helpful to put in an estimated hourly time commitment because lots of people will ask about that, and to avoid having to answer that question, that's helpful. So a brief job description would be helpful. You can still look at the executive offices if you go to asuc.org/apply. Each executive office did a job description for each position in their office, and so whichever template you find helpful, and if you want to open up these positions to be advertised broadly, whichever committee produces that for their position, that sort of template, we can put that on the website and begin accepting applications that way. Yeah, Senator Roche.
So, because I was looking in the bylaws itself for the Comptroller General, I guess we have to appoint that by the 6th week or so. So I was going to ask, would I be able to make a motion for us to get a temporary committee on that, or here, or how does that work or something?
Yeah, so that was a new position that was created last year. I wrote that bylaw amendment actually, and so traditionally that has been dealt with by last year. Conrev was the committee that did not only Attorney General and Solicitor General, but also Judicial Council and Conrev. So my recommendation, because that committee works so closely with Conrev, would either be to assign it to Conrev to do concurrently with Judicial Council, or to assign it to the committee that's doing Attorney and Solicitor General. Senator Mullen.
So yes, I think that is possible if we could, as the chair, as the Attorney General, Solicitor General, and Elected Counselor Temporary Committee, I think we could add that into a position. What I would ask is to be in contact possibly with the previous Comptroller General.
Okay.
Just to kind of get an idea of how the functionality of the position worked last year, because we also talked to Nicolette through J Council, and it would help us in our interview process to make that position more apparent.
Great. So let's talk offline about that. Any other questions about this and or other special committee reports? Senator Mullen?
On the same note, temporary committee on the appointment of the Attorney General, Solicitor General, and Elections Council Chair continue to receive applications. We now have 2 applications for Attorney General, 3 for Solicitor General, and still only 1 for Elections Council Chair. I feel comfortable moving forward with these nominations. If anybody does not, they can let me know, and if they have any other nominations still to forward to us, we'll be convening interviews sometime next week. It was going to be before Senate, but now because the Senate time's a little bit different, we'll try and adjust and have that by the deadline.
Yeah, as a note, so if you have a position where you have 1 applicant that you're comfortable moving forward with, if for whatever reason after the interview you remain unconvinced, you don't have to just appoint that person because you only have 1 applicant. It's not desirable for us to do this, but we can go back out and search again. If there's a timeline, we would have to suspend the bylaws, which is a practice that I highly discourage. But if it comes to that point in any of your search committees, don't feel pressured to choose somebody just because they're the only applicant if you're really not sold on them as a candidate. So if there are no other temporary committee reports, Senator Quinn.
Hey y'all, I'm the chair of temporary committees 3 and 4. Temporary committee, I forget which one's which, but one is meeting Thursday 6 to 8 next week, and the other one's meeting Thursday 8 to 10 next week. And we've received multiple applications for most of the positions, only one for disabled students funding, and one for green certification, and one for director of sustainability, but all of the other ones got multiples. So it should be a pretty fast, painless process. Everyone looks super qualified. I'm really excited about this batch of folks.
Awesome. Any other temporary committee reports? If there are none, we'll move on to ASUC representative reports. This is with the understanding that we haven't formally appointed ASUC representatives. I know Senator Chung has sort of been an acting representative to the Residence Hall Assembly. Let's take a moment, I guess, briefly to touch base with the Constitutional and Procedural Review Committee about the status of this item. Has there been a decision reached on how we'll deal with this?
Sean gave an update earlier in the meeting.
Okay, so is there like a bill coming? Is that?
So Conrad is focusing right now on the Judicial Council interviews, and then we'll have the bill as soon as all the senators who were assigned the task of reviewing which ASUC representative is appointed and not according to the bylaws.
Okay. So if the Senate is okay with it, we will, I don't want to necessarily, we don't have appointments on this anyway, but we'll move forward with the understanding that somebody who is an acting representative to these committees, communities, can report back to us, and that we're going to defer to Conrev on the best way to move forward on this very disorganized list of positions. And after they've cleared up J Council, which is slightly more time sensitive, that we will return to that. So Senator Chung, do you want to talk to us about the Residence Hall Assembly?
So it'll be really brief. They had their first meeting on Monday. It went relatively well. The reps are really engaged, and I brought up some of the bills that we were going to be discussing. So that's basically it. If there's anything more, I just wanted to make sure that I had time to talk about it. But for now, that's it.
Great. Okay. Do we have any other sort of informal ASUC representative reports? With the understanding we still have elected official announcements coming up. Senator Week.
If we feel that there should be a representative for a certain community added, would we just talk to Conrad about that?
Yeah, I would definitely try to synchronize with Conrep to make sure that that moves forward in this broader reform process. Senators Pacheco and Feynman.
Today, before Senate from 6 to 7, BSF met, Berkeley Student Foundation, and we delegated all 10 scholarships for last semester, so that's good. They've been waiting for their money since forever, so they finally got their money. There will be a conversation on whether ASUC wants to delegate the Boston Student Trust Fund money to BSF as it has in the last 5 years, so just to put that on y'all's radars, keep that in mind. Yeah. Oh, our next meeting is October 9th from 6 to 7.
Great, thank you, Senator Pacheco. Senator Feynman?
Yeah, I'm sorry, this is something I probably should have said earlier, but with regard to the representative reports, the ASUC, there are a couple being added, like the JSU, the BSU, and if any of you have recommendations of ones you think should be added, don't hesitate to email them to Sean or myself, and we'll make sure that they get added.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
JSU and BSU? Yes. Which BSU? Lexington Union. Are there any other ASUC representative reports? Senator Woche?
I just had a question, because, so I was looking through the bylaws, so I was able to find all the ones that were appointed or so, but the question I didn't have is the ones that, there's some of them that aren't listed in the bylaws, so does that mean those are the ones that aren't allowed for senators to sit on, or?
So what I'll say is that the format for our agenda is prescribed by the bylaws, and the agenda lists which representatives are going to report. It's possible that clauses creating positions have been removed, and that the agenda section that prescribes who reports at a meeting has not been updated to reflect that. So just because it's printed on the agenda, and because I'm required to print the agenda with this list of business, does not mean that that position still exists in the bylaws. Thank you, past Conrevs. any other reports on this? If not, we'll move into elected official announcements. So I'd like to start, let's start on the other side this week with Senator Wu, and we'll go back around this way. Nope, okay, so just one by one down the table. Okay. Yeah, no, so we're literally just going down the table and around.
I just wanted to let everyone know that tonight the Cal women's volleyball team played Stanford at the Big Spike, and Cal Spirit and Cal Greeks did a joint event to support that.
I was busted it up, but I'll get back.
Hello, everyone. I just want to talk about a bill that me and Destiny are writing right now. It's in regard to public education and specifically the ACES program and what the goal of like a public university should be, how we should be framing conversations about public education in the future. And we're going to be sending this out to the entire Senate class. We'll be sending this out to the entire Senate class just so everyone can kind of take a look at it and we can get your feedback on it too. So look out for that pretty much this Friday.
Hi, everybody. Just as President Pipita has already said, October is Filipino American History Month, and just to add into it, this was approved by the Senate 4 years ago of supporting Filipino American History Month, so we have a responsibility of actually promoting Filipino American History Month on the month of October, and I will send you all updates about the different events that are happening on October, especially October 16th, which is Proud Visibility Day, where you'll see a lot of the cultural dances as well as traditions within the Filipino community.
This Friday from 7 to 9 in the Multicultural Community Center, there's the Queer Town Hall, the first one of the semester. It's a closed space, but that means that anyone who identifies as queer can come. So if you or your friends or your constituents do, let them know. And then, yeah, that's it.
I made this announcement in External on Monday, but it's like an update. On October 11th, not this Thursday anymore, but October 11th, there will be an event entitled Fierce Resistance at the MCC from 11 to 5. And this is a joint event between MedChat and a women's coalition, like a coalition of women of prisoners, I think is what it's called. But basically the event is going to talk about narratives from trans, queer, and women of color in prison. So I urge you all to go. Because it's going to be a really interesting event. Toward the end, they have like a spoken word part. It's called Floricanto, where folks can go in and read letters of family members or loved ones who are incarcerated, and it's going to get really personal, which I think is a really great space for people to talk about that, because there is not a lot of spaces on this campus where we can talk about those experiences. So I really, really urge you all to go.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment. So a friend of mine, his name is Malik Nixon. He passed this weekend or so, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is because here at the university, I'm still not sure, so I can't have to take that with a grain of salt if it was a suicide or if it was anything. Okay, I'm not sure, or anything of that sort. But I would just like to take this moment, just if you all can give a moment of silence for that.
Briefly, we can as. Malik was in Brianna's office. I do want to defer to her and give her a chance to do this.
I have something to say at the end, so thank you. So I'll just apologize.
So yeah, we're going to talk about that at the end.
So tomorrow night there's a marketing career fair hosted by ABA and BCEC, which is the Berkeley Careers and Entertainment Club. So it's at Haas Bank of America Forum at 7:30. There's companies like Electronic Arts coming. There's a lot of startup companies coming as well. So be sure to check it out. Also, there's a member of my community, Alex sorry, am I talking too fast? No. Okay. Alex Mandel, who is a senior now, he's designing a design minor for starting next year, which is really cool because we haven't had one here on campus yet, and so I'm really excited. If you guys have any interest or know community members that are interested in it, like please reach out to me so we get this started. And yeah, thanks.
Hello, y'all. First, I just want to acknowledge RHA. Zoe Hodge, who's actually a representative for RHA. I just want to thank her for coming to the Senate meeting and participating in our space. And also, I want to inform y'all on why I wasn't here at the Senate meeting last week. I was actually representing UCSA in the Ignite campaign at the UC Regents meeting, and so that's why I wasn't here last week.
Yeah, a couple things. Quick question. Am I allowed to yield time for a minute for someone who missed the community or no?
Traditionally, we have.
Okay, I'll make the announcement. It's cool. All right, couple things real quick. Like I mentioned, this time of the year is like the Jewish holidays every day, so I'm just going to go and explain a couple of them. So Sukkot was this week. If you guys walked on campus or past Hillel or by API or anything that you probably saw, the temporary structures are called sukkahs. It's like a hut, that commemorates the exile into Egypt and the temporary living situation. So Sukkot ends tonight, and tonight starts the beginning of another Jewish holiday called Shmini Atzeret, which is a little-known holiday that is the rain festival. It sounds kind of weird. I honestly don't really know much about it, besides the fact that it starts it ends the harvest and starts the new harvest where you ask for rain so your crops grow. And then Thursday is Simchat Torah, which is the celebration of the end of the Torah, which is the Jewish Bible. So on that holiday, you end your reading of the Torah and then start the next reading, so kind of end this loop. So those are Jewish holidays going on this week. And then quickly, I have an announcement that the Olive Tree Initiative is holding its first event of the year on, hold on one second, sorry. On Thursday? What day is it? Yeah, okay, so it's on Thursday at 8 p.m. at the Barrows Lounge. The Olive Tree Initiative is a student organization focused on experiential education around the Israeli-Palestinian conflict that will be hosting its Welcome Back event. If you have any more questions about that, let me know, the information. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. So I just wanted to talk about an inter-fellowship event that is going on within the Christian community. There is a place called the Upper Room Prayer House, and it's located on 2470 Telegraph Avenue, right in front of Cafe Mediterranean. And basically, it's a place where Christians from any fellowship can come and pray together and just have a time of worship. So that's something new this year. We're really excited about it.
Okay, briefly, before I turn this back over to Senator Mullen, I do want to strongly urge senators to bring in community members and have them speak. I've really done my best to redesign the agenda so that public comments happen at the beginning. The way that it's designed right now, because roll call has to happen at 7:20, depending on how representative reports work, it'll be either just before or just after 7:20 when public comments and guest announcements and so forth happen. So if you do want to have people come in and announce events or things that are coming up for Senate, it will be that consistent time that someone can come in and make a public comment. And the other thing briefly that I do want to return to is this appointment. I was able to clarify via text message the Berkeley Cribs appointment. So if we can return to that item really quickly. We had EAVP McCly come in last week and announce her intent to appoint Allison Hall as the Berkeley Cribs director. It has a recommended stipend of $1,000. That's at the discretion of the Senate to approve, but I believe that's traditionally what that position has gotten. And it's going to come from the Cal Housing Commission line item in the External Affairs Vice President's budget. Those are the details of the appointment. Does anyone have questions about the appointment beyond what we were able to talk about last week?
I move to approve the appointment.
Okay, there's been a motion to approve the appointment as articulated. It's been moved and seconded. Are there any objections to that appointment? Any abstentions? Great, seeing none, motion carries. Allison Hall is our new Berkeley Cribs director. And before we adjourn the meeting, I do want to return this to Senator Mullen, so
I
please.
think Senator Shen has something.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Sorry, really quickly, since Karen did bring out the design minor, I wanted to just also say that I've been meeting with some groups, leaders of design groups on campus, and I think there's a consensus that we really want to make the design minor here at Berkeley special, given that we are the, leading, public institution here in the United States, and we really were thinking of how we can do that. And what we kind of were discussing is that design, we really don't want this design minor to be thought of a program that just teaches you how to draw or do graphic design, but really on focusing on how to think like a designer. As Karen was saying, being an entrepreneur, that's like, it's a new way of thought, and on the same note, being a designer, it's a new way of thought. You think of, space, you think of how to make things, effective. So yeah, keep on the lookout for that. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to both me and Karen. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so if there are no more elected official announcements, please do give your undivided attention to Senator Miller.
So I apologize, I did write something out. I didn't have time to print it, but I just wanted to collect my thoughts. So as many of you have heard, and this all was mentioned, we lost one of our own students and our community members this past Saturday. His name was Malik Nixon, and when he started his second year here at Berkeley, he was working not only in my office, but in the AVP office, Vote Coalition, and he was an active member of the Black Student Union, CalServe, CalDems, and the Disabled Students Program. Malik was not your average Berkeley student. He wasn't trapped by the typical paralysis of cynicism that plagues critical and analytical minds at the university. He was intelligent, and he was passionate, and he was devoted to seeing the change that he really wanted to see on this campus. And as my mental health advocate in my office, he passionately believed that the university could do more for students who struggle every day. And he really wanted to be part of the change that he saw that was so ready to happen on campus. Malik was a self-described insatiable political trying to cultivate his own garden as a good liberal subject. I don't really know what that means, but it obviously was important to him. And he was often more informed on the topic in which you were supposedly an expert in. His friends described the wealth of knowledge he would willingly share with the people around him, and he constantly involved himself in the issues he felt most passionately about. He engaged with others with respect and consideration. But he challenged the status quo for students today, continuously demanding that we strive for progress and a better university. Malik dedicated himself to the ASUC, and he believed in the progress that the student leaders could make in it. Sorry. He would often not only come to both committee and Senate meetings, but actively participate, and he spoke during public comment at many meetings, engaging with us about the process. Malik believed in the Senate, and in his application to my office, he wrote that he thought the ASUC senator holds a responsibility to the student interest in communicating with the administration of Cal, and to make sure that funds paid to the ASUC from mandatory student fees are not only managed with prudence and good faith, but in the best interest of student body at large, as opposed to the interest of the administration, powerful student interest groups, and corporate partners. He believed in the Senate, and he believed in all of us, even when many other students do not believe. In the days after Malik's death, I've struggled to find the words for the loss this campus has experienced. But what we gained from the time Malik spent here should also not be forgotten. His impact on the people and the community around him is unmeasurable. And although the time and loss is hard for many of us, it motivates me to continue Malik's work in his memory. I will strive to continue my work with mental health and with more passion than ever, knowing that this wasn't important to him. His legacy of passion and advocacy inspires me now more than ever, and I will strive to do the work in Senate this year that would have made him proud. Malik believed in me and so many of others in this room, and I'm so honored that we had the chance to work together. He's more missed than he'll ever know. I just ask that we take a moment of silence for Malik to recognize the loss the university, its community, has experienced in this past week.
Thank you. There will be a memorial service from our league on October 6th, I believe. It's a Sunday at 2 p.m. I can forward out details. There's a lot of community members who have reached out in the past couple days, and there'll be a service at Cloyne for everyone who would like to attend. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Mullen. So we'll now move through final roll call and adjourn. Senator Chow?
Present.
Senator Chung?
Here.
Senator Feinman?
Present.
Senator Iwoma? Present. Senator Kong? Present. Senator Lee?
Here.
Senator Mohabit?
Present.
Senator Mullen?
Present.
Senator Woche?
Present.
Senator Pacheco? Senator Pandya? Senator Quinn?
Present.
Senator Rafi? Senator Shen?
Present.
Senator Snown?
Present.
Senator Tan?
Present.
Senator Truax? Senator Upadhyula?
Here.
Senator Week?
Here.
Senator Wu? Senator Truax? If there are no objections, this meeting is adjourned at 9:14. Senator Truax?